what's going on, everybody? This is Carlo of 4GQTV, and I have my co-host Paris here. We have a very special guest. We have Dorah Fine, who is a voice actor and has voiced many characters in video games, looks like anime as well. Dorah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, I have been working as a voice actor for about 10 years now. I originally, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and and my life got a different, yeah. So I grew up in New York, and I did the Walt Disney World College program.
Mhm.
Um, and so that brought me to Orlando, Florida, and I lived there for 13 years. And during that time, I got my degree in theater and was a public school drama teacher. They cut the arts in my county. I was very sad, and but I was part of my hometown Anime Festival, Orlando, and I had been very much a big part of it for several years. And I happened to meet somebody named Tony Oliver about 12 years ago. We just bonded by the pool party one night, talking about theater, and we started talking. And I ended up going to take his class in Chicago shortly after that, uh, and then I ended up moving out here, and like kind of the rest is history. And now I work with Tony, and I run Adventures in Voice Acting, which is the voice acting school that Bang Zoom sponsors, or it's powered by.
Mhm.
And and I work with Tony and Bang Zoom quite a bit to this day, and it's just been really awesome to be able to be a part of some very iconic um, iconic anime and video games and all of that. So I'm just super happy to be living out here in Los Angeles.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I was just looking at as we were doing our research a little bit, before we reached out and stuff. Saw that you're in Lupin the Third, Dragon Slayer, Ghost in the Shell. Now these aren't just like small like titles. These are really,
Oh,
really
and
big,
Beyblade.
big brands.
Beyblade's very important.
Beyblade. Oh yes, yes. The list is long and it's mighty. So would you consider Tony to be one of your mentors in the industry?
um,
Is that how you got you
he
started?
is he is my darling friend, my dear friend, my mentor, my teacher, and was a big cheerleader. And I wouldn't, had I not met him, and if it wasn't for his guidance, I wouldn't be where I'm at
Hmm.
today. And incidentally, I things have gone quite full circle.
Mhm.
I um, had the pleasure of taking over um, directing the dub for Lupin the Third Part 6.
Hmm.
Tony was directing it for basically the first half of the season, and I'm the director for the second half of the season that will start airing on Toonami soon. And it's quite remarkable that, like, my first time coming out here and voice acting, he was my director in Magi, and then to be going to this point where I get to direct him and direct him as Lupin of all things,
Right.
and be able to be involved in such an iconic and beloved franchise. It's just extra special, and he taught me, so he taught me how to direct, and it's been, yeah, absolutely fabulous.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So hold on one second, Carl, before you jump in. I just wanted to get a shout out to Tony, mentor Tony. Thank you. And also, them having the trust in you and believing in you to give you, I believe this is your first director's opportunity.
This is my first time directing for Bang Zoom, and
Mhm.
shout out to Bang Zoom in general. With Adventures in Voice Acting, and just in general, I really love how they provide opportunities and open doors for people, and just because you're not experienced,
Mm.
not completely experienced yet, but you're talented, that they cultivate that. And the reason why they started the school was specifically that it's not, you know, it's not just, oh, I love this anime and I love making voices. We want to teach that, yeah, it's actually acting, and there's a whole process to it. And I'm really happy to be at the helm of the school, and just in general also, when they have open auditions at like at Anime Expo or Anime Central, and they've always been cultivating that, and giving people opportunities.
Mhm.
And whereas in a lot of other circumstances in Hollywood, it's much harder. It's not as common. Whereas they work and they partner also. Aniplex of America is also a big proponent of it. And they are the ones who will have partnered with us in the past
Mhm.
for the roles for the open auditions that they would host. And it's really wonderful to be a part of not only just a really cool company and a wonderful company with wonderful people to work with, but also that values the next generation, and it's nice.
Awesome. Little give back.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to see what you directed. I'm very excited to see that actually. So there's some really big stuff here on your IMDb that is kind of like mind blowing. So I want to ask you about AI, the Somnium Files. Hopefully I said that correctly because I'm bad
It's
with pronouns.
the
Okay.
Somnium Files, and just to get you an idea, yes, it's AI. It's also a pun for eye, as in the eye. I also means
Ah.
of. My character Hitomi Sagan. Hitomi means pupil. Again, I. Uh, and her daughter's name is Iris. Um, it goes on, and it's just what Uchikoshi-san is just wonderful with the multiple meanings and glorious puns throughout his work. Mhm. Yeah, so I is probably it is, and playing Hitomi Sagan in particular is still my favorite character to
Mm.
have been able to play to date, um, and just she has this quiet strength, and it's very unassuming, and a lot of people were when it came out, my friends were like, okay, so you said you're like you're a character in this. I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, but you don't, I'm not a big character until later in the mystery.
Mhm.
So um and she may look like just an innocent, sweet elementary school teacher and mom, but she's definitely so much more,
Mm.
and has a really great sense of humor too.
Mhm.
And in the sequel, I the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, um, she has a smaller role. She goes, I think I appear like in 3 scenes, maybe 4 scenes,
Mhm.
but we get to see a little bit more and realize the budding romantic relationship between her and Date, and
Mm.
as many fans know, Tate is very motivated by pretty things, and so let me think. Uh, there's just confirmation of it, and that in the new one, like she laughs whenever he's being a little silly, and she enjoys it just as much as he enjoys it himself. So it's absolutely precious. And also in general, I typically play lots of moms,
Mhm.
uh, and very much often I do not get a name. I'm just the character's mom, like Sakura's mother in I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I also did, yeah, and that's quite a name, but it does mean something very, very significant and something absolutely beautiful, um,
Mm.
in the film. And very much the same. I play moms that very often are faced with big challenges or the death, um, uh, or some kind of tragedy happening with her daughter, and it's a theme, and I do love playing those strong women, and so uh, in that movie, it definitely was. It was just wonderful. Basically, the main character, it has a pancreatic disease, and so it's a combination of that and what that means. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. It's absolutely beautiful. But also Hitomi also goes through uh, big challenges with Iris, with her daughter, and depending on the different endings and the different routes, you get to see a bunch of different parts of her. And when I was in the studio recording it years ago, it was quite a special experience because I had all of my teachers in there with me. At different points, I was pulling different kinds of techniques and ideas to properly, convey what she was going through, and going all the way back from college, from my theater degree. And then of course Tony was in the room with me, and Kal-El Bogdanov, and Charlie Adler, and David Sobolov, and I'm being terrible, I'm sure I'm forgetting other things, and Julie Madalina, and just pulling towards these different kinds of concepts and different kinds of ideas to really ground her and bring her to life. And it was so exciting to be able to really be able to access my craft and to be able to bring a character to life like that, and that having all my teachers there with me. A lot of people say, a lot of people get their degrees in college, and they don't end up having careers in that. And it's quite wonderful to be able to be using my degree on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said you worked at Walt Disney. So how did you make that transition from, being an actor, actress, performing at Walt Disney, into voice acting?
Actually, I didn't perform that much at Disney. I was more, I started out with the Disney College program. I made cotton candy, all different kinds of candy on Main Street, USA. Beautiful, poofy, yellow dress. And I never want to make fudge again. And but it's okay. And then I transitioned over to the Great Movie Ride, and which is now gone. But in that, there is a tour guide element to it, and there is some acting in it, which is fabulous. And then once you have more seniority, you get to be, the ride would get hijacked halfway through by a bandit or a gangster, and I got to play the bandit. And so it was a lot of fun being a part of it. But technically, I wasn't a performer. I was a ride operator. And then I transitioned over to Epcot attraction. So at a given time, I worked at Test Track, Mission Space, The Wonders of Life, now gone, Universe of Energy, now gone. And by the way, holy crap, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride that has replaced it is just unbelievable. And it's totally in theme. Anybody going like, what the heck is this about? Like, that doesn't make sense. It totally fits with the theming and everything. And that Spaceship Earth, the big ball, is where I spent a lot of the time. But three Christmas seasons, I think 3 Christmas seasons, I was part of the holidays around the world at Epcot, and I was a storyteller. I told the story of Hanukkah as myself because and it was quite wonderful to be able to be a part of that. And it was a new thing the first year, where they used to have the storyteller just come out, the Hanukkah storyteller come out during the days of Hanukkah. And it was the same story with the Kwanzaa storyteller at the time. And the year that I was cast and brought in was the first year where they were having both the Kwanzaa storyteller and the Hanukkah storyteller be a part of the show for the entire season. And so it was, and we both did it at the American Adventure. And so it was absolutely wonderful. I also worked for a time at Universal in Florida, the Terminator show. I was Kimberly Duncan. Isn't that
Oh, wow.
super?
Nice.
It's so super. It was wonderful. I really liked it. And I especially loved it when everybody cheered when I got choked and thrown, I guess, by. But you know, it was a whole lot of fun. And I also worked at SeaWorld Spectacular. I was Penelope the Pumpkin Fish. And and I very much had a short attention span, and it was just a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but it was mainly in attractions, and I was also involved with the cast member community theater group there.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah. So, and from there, I ended up getting my degree at Rollins College. I had thought I was never going to finish college. I had it, and somebody suggested with the theater group, just said, you know, like there's a school, it's really cool. Yeah, you know, check it out. So I did a tour and I walked into the Annie Russell Theater that was, goodness, now it's nearly 100 years old. I think it was built in the 1930s. And I looked, I'm like, I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to finish school and I'm going to study theater. And luckily I checked off a little box saying I'd like to be considered for scholarships based on merit. And also financially, things were a little rough with my family at the time. And so I ended up having a full ride. And I was able to finish my degree. And it was just wonderful. And it was as a public school drama teacher, I was performing like I was performing in Epcot. I was, you know, doing these different things. And then this, like I mentioned earlier, they cut the arts, and I had this beautiful, beautiful program. I had Black Box Theater designed by Disney Imagineers, Celebration K-8, and I spent the next year really not being able to teach it anymore. And it was a very difficult year. A quarter of my student population, I went from Celebration K-8 to another school, and a quarter of the student population was actually homeless.
Wow.
And so just dealing with the stark contrast and understanding, and the little bit of theater, the one little class that I was able to teach, but I had like 40 children in there. It was just too many. But it was humbling, and I really did my best to be the best teacher I could for the students, but I wasn't happy. And I missed being a theater teacher. And again, I met Tony at Anime Festival Orlando. And because what happened was we were talking about it, and since I was an educator, we had an exchange, and he said, come and take my class. And I have friends in Chicago, and he was teaching in Chicago. And come and take my class. I'd like, and in exchange, I would love for you to give me feedback and give me, you know, and different kinds of ideas of how I could improve the class. And so, and that's exactly what I did. And then I ended up helping out and then moving out to LA, and then helping actually run the school and create curriculum and all of that. And I have wonderful teachers so that I work with. And what I do love about the school as well is, yes, it's fun, but every single one of our classes are educational and training, and we give good foundations to people who are working with the craft. And it's not just a quick, oh, it's an anime, you know, anime, and it's all fun. It's not a gimmick. It's an actual school. And many students stop. Many of our students have studied with us or have chosen to study with us along the way, and so many of them are in the industry now, and it's just great seeing everybody succeed.
That's definitely a good thing. Question about the school is it in person only, or is there online classes as well?
We were in person only before the pandemic, and come the shutdown, I scrambled, and it took me 2 weeks, and we went online. And I can't, and this is in earlier days, like when people still didn't understand how to use Zoom and doing all of that. And so, and now we're exclusively online because it's still not safe to have multiple people in a studio learning and being unmasked in front, and being on mic. And so we're still doing everything remotely and doing it well. And so, like, for instance, Julie Madalena's character voice acting 101 course did have this big improv, like in-person improv, like physical element to it, which we had to remove from the classes. But at the same time, we rearranged it so that there were still other kinds of ways to do improv and continue to do the core of teaching people how to act and get that training. We at first we were not able to provide the classes that we do now, our ADR from home workshop, which actually teaches you everything about dubbing and localization and the whole process, as well as also being able to remotely, the students get to experience what it's like to dub anime remotely from Bang Zoom, and we use scripts and from shows that Bang Zoom worked on, and so they're able to learn that now, but we weren't able before. So again, we rearranged things and put in all of the other things. And so Tony teaches an intro to voice acting class and voice acting techniques class, and we have an audition class, and we also have workouts, and we've had David Sobolov come and teaches the art of the bookable read, and I'm about to add two more teachers, but not officially yet, but one that is going to be teaching voice acting and acting specifically geared to and learning how to dub live action, and which is a different technique completely. And another teacher is going to be coming in that I want to concentrate on specifically, very much cartoony and strong comedy, has a strong comedy acting background for specifically for cartoons and animation. So it's just fabulous. And at the same time, a lot of our copy, I mean, it comes from anime, and it's really great. And I also privately coach, and I lead workouts. And like for today, this afternoon, I'm going to be teaching, well, not teaching, I'm leading the workout. Basically, just we set it up because it's so hard to practice dubbing, in real time. And so doing a workout helps it out. So what happens is my students will choose the copy that they want to use in the sessions. And we have a Bang Zoom engineer on the line with us to do the recording. And essentially I just direct them. So I just direct them, and, when we set everything up, as if it were a real session. And then we wait, we don't play it back until the end of the workout, because that way it's exciting and movie time. And essentially we play back the scenes, and the student gets to see themselves in that role, up again, and along with all of the professionals who originally were in the production. And it's a really valuable time. And so I give a little feedback at the end, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is them to come in, to practice, to work out, and me giving them the best experience I can to make it seem like it's the real thing, so that when they do start working on the regular basis, it's no big deal. They're comfortable, they're at home, and it's really great to do that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know that you going into teaching, and it seems like you've been doing it almost your entire career.
I've been an educator. And it's wonderful because I love acting.
Yeah.
There's only two other things that bring me that kind of joy, and one of them is directing, and also being able to, well, not being able to teach. The feeling I get when I'm able to help my students succeed, those light bulb moments, and they're nervous, or we're working on something, and all of a sudden they blossom, and they have to work really hard, but being able to be a little part of it.
Then to see them get signed or get opportunities where now they're in shows or video games or movie or TV show, that's awesome. It has to be some sense of satisfaction for yourself to be like, yes, I played a small part, but yes. Congratulations. It's awesome.
No, I'm going to teach. I'm going to continue teaching.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life, for sure. In one way, shape, or form.
Nice. So as you're going through the pandemic and having to sort of adjust from being in person and then go into this remote, I know you were teaching and doing classes remotely, but what about on a professional level? So how did you sort of make that transition? Having to build your own studio, look online to find the parts and all that stuff. How did that work for you?
Well, I was a little lucky. It's kind of sort of my studio is my hallway. I live in a very old apartment, but the rent is beautiful. Basically it's 3.5 by 7 space that technically is the hallway of my apartment. So I close the door to my bedroom, my living room, and my bathroom, and I have curtains that I've now put on a rack, but back then they were just on hooks. What I would do is, to record my auditions, I would just bring in my laptop, and I had I'm still using it, and I had a Scarlett 2i2. I think it was 2nd generation, and it's still working today. And I had oh my goodness, Audio-Technica 2035. And that's what I had been recording my auditions on when I was doing them at home. I was also recording my auditions elsewhere with some wonderful people over at the Voiceover Doctor and Compost Productions. There was this club, and I'd go in and they'd direct me with my auditions, and it was just fabulous. And it was fantastic. And now I do it virtually.
Nice.
But yeah, and what's quite interesting is I had been scheduled to record Bertha for Pokemon Masters X, and I was scheduled to go in the week that we shut down. And so just talking through it, and so seeing the writing on the wall and all of that, I quickly got an iMac. I've upgraded since again, but I got a nice iMac that would be quiet enough that I could put in the studio and work it all out. And I had all those things, and I basically set those all up, and got an Ethernet cord so that we could they could record me remotely. And I think at least for Pokemon, this was the first remote session, and so and we did it well, and it was a whole heck of a lot of fun, but it was very very different. I was like, for instance, when you're in studio, you're by yourself, and then on the opposite side of the glass is the client that's wanting things to be done, and they communicate with the director and the engineer, and you don't typically hear any of that conversation. And but because of the nature of it all, and using Source Connect now, and we hadn't come up with ways to do that, like the full conversation was there, and it was fun to have it be more collaborative, and me being able to hear everything that was going on. It was just wonderful. And we've made it work. And I also and then since then, and I'm working hard, and I was working consistently with that Audio Technica 2035, and not expensive. A lot of people who start wanting to get into voiceover, they think they have to buy like the really expensive stuff, and you don't. You just need to make sure that it has a certain amount of low self noise, and just have certain kind of specs that it's going to be good. And it should be, if you're thinking about doing anime or any kind of character stuff, the best kind of microphone would be cardioid patterned, large diaphragm condenser microphone, because that way you're able to move around much more freely and still be picked up by the mic. And there's no need to spend all this money. But then what was going on for me was slowly but surely I was starting to do things that were like any kind of screaming or anything like that. My microphone couldn't quite capture everything that I wanted to do, and so, and also to remain competitive, because there were some studios that wanted the really expensive stuff, and so I ended up getting a TLM 103, but I before that I did get this Sennheiser MKH 416. Usually retails $1,000, right? I did a search, and it was pandemic time, and people weren't renting equipment, and PRG was selling used equipment, and I found this one, and talked with them, and it was only $225.
Oh wow.
And just fantastic. But they use these on set, and it's a little beaten up, but it's a workhorse, and it works great. And so I do love using it as a director, and I do pull it into my studio if I'm doing live action dubbing, because that typically is more of the same kind of sound that you'd have, but it's fantastic. And yeah, but slowly but surely, as I worked hard, and as I started booking things, and my business was growing, and that I could afford to, I slowly but surely just upgraded everything. And I'm just as happy doing things remote as in person. The only thing that I do miss is air conditioning. That it does not happen in my studio at all. And
it's hot pretty quickly in there. It gets
really, and like a week like this week, where it's been in the 90s or over 100, and I have to turn off all the air conditioners, and you have to turn off everything, at least for mine. So when it's this time of year, and now that people are vaccinated, I feel confident to go into certain studios that are following all the minimum safety protocols. And so when it's super hot,
Yeah, like
if they
I
can
can
have
come
me,
in.
yeah. But Bang Zoom, the majority of the anime is still being dubbed remote.
Yeah,
It's not in person. So it's just as good of a model, and quite frankly, it's so much better because you have access to talent across the world and across the US, and people who are so talented, but because of circumstances and what have you, it's hard and very expensive to live in Los Angeles.
Right.
And so many people are able to start their careers remotely, and get that kind of access. And once they're getting successful enough, they can make the move here. And some don't have to make the move here. And lots of people have left.
Right.
Yeah,
it does open the door to be more inclusive, like give people opportunities
100%.
that never had an opportunity before, people with disabilities.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just people who are with disabilities. I also and also better representation.
Yeah.
Just in general, like if you're wanting to have, if you've got a Latina character, you want to be able to access somebody who's very talented, and you might want to have an authentic accent, and what have you, and because you want something Puerto Rican, that would not be not that much here. And so again, those kinds of the accents and different heritage and different races, it's all really exciting at how much more inclusivity and proper representation exists. And and what we look like doesn't matter as voice actors, but telling the stories right, it matters. It really does matter. And it's quite awesome. So
Nice. Carlo, you have a final question before we wrap this up? I know I have one, but we'll wait till after you ask yours.
Okay. So one last question I do have for you is, when it comes to being a voice actor at home, especially right now, because there's a lot of people doing it from home, audio quality is very important in voice acting. So do you or any other voice actors actually post-process their own audio before auditions or before sending in the final cut?
It depends. So and also, while we're talking about good audio, it's not necessarily a microphone. It is definitely your sound treatment. More than anything else, your sound treatment, the room, that is what will create the best sound. I have a noise floor of I think it's negative 70, 75 decibels in my room, and that's because it's inner and so I have a really nice setup. I can't buy a booth. I live on a second floor of an older building, and it won't be able to manage that. So, but using post-processing, well, if you're auditioning and you're working with possibly an indie dev, and doing those kind of things, or if you are working on the pay-to-play sites, and you're doing jobs like that where you are going to be providing the final product, where you're going to be doing the cleanup and making it nice and good, then of course your auditions should reflect what the final product is going to be. But as far as auditioning for things where you're also auditioning your space, it is very important that you give them exactly what it's going to sound like. So what if there's mouth noise? They can take care of that mouth noise. But what is the room tone? Making sure your room tone is right, and they need to know like what they're dealing with, and they want to know how you sound raw in that space. The only kind of post-processing that you would do if you're auditioning for something, again, if you're auditioning for something where you're expected to be working in your studio, you can go back, and you should, and normalize, because you're going to be going up and down, like if it's a video game or things like that, where there'll be quiet moments and then there's parts that you're screaming. You're going to be riding your gain, and by the way, you ride your gain live when you're doing the remote session anyway. And you ride it based on what the engineer tells you to do.
Awesome. Yeah.
I wait for I let the engineer tell me what to do, because you never know. Or every once in a while I'm like, oh, I'm gonna yell, I should probably put my gain down, and they're like, oh yeah, but but if they don't remember, but
yeah,
it's set up so that they know, because they're going to do the post-processing. They're the ones who are going to be they're pulling the recording remotely. You may be, and yes, you may be rolling the backup on your end, but still you want to be able to, you're auditioning your space, and what it's going to be like when it's live, and so you want to give a proper representation of that. And it doesn't matter if there is a little bit of mouth noise, or you gotta, there's a little bit of like, you're like, oh, I want to DS that, or I just want to I want to get rid of that background noise. No, you really shouldn't. You want to, again, you never want to lie. And quite frankly, why would you want to trick them at all?
Right.
You're going to be working together as a team. And so you want to make sure that they also can work with you and what you've got. So it's important. And again, can't stress it enough, your sound treatment is really the most important part of it all. It's not the fancy microphone necessarily, ever. So nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for that explanation, because I'm sure a lot of viewers that tune in, people that are in the industry want to know. And that's cool. Thank you for sharing. One final question, and it's totally off the wall,
Okay.
Do you eat pineapples on pizza? Do you like it, or are you just like, no?
Okay. This is going to be funny. No, I've tried it, but only pineapple, not ham, because it isn't kosher. But what, growing up, I was raised very traditionally Orthodox in Brooklyn. That's a whole other story.
Right.
But so I would only frequent the pizza shops that were the kosher pizza shops, and generally those pizza shops were very much, it was like pizza and falafel. So the pizza, and in general, it was a blend with Middle Eastern, Israeli kind of food as well. And so don't do meat and dairy. So again, so all of my pizza experiences and my taste for pizza, I guess, is generally dairy and vegetables. So pineapple never was a part of that.
There you go.
But and I haven't had I've never ordered pineapple on pizza, but I've seen it. But whenever I see it being offered in any gathering or what have you, it usually has ham on it, and I just don't do that.
Yeah. Okay. So pineapple over ham, but no ham at all. Nice.
Yeah. So
awesome.
It's a very, very important question to have asked me. Thank
you. There you go. Okay, Dorah, while we wrap this up, where can people find you? Is there anything you want to plug before we head off into the sunset? And thank you for your time and today.
Thank you for
hanging out with us.
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dorah Fine, which is how I spell my name, DorahFine. And also you can find me at Adorably Fine, and it's spelled like my name. So ADORAHBLYFINE. And that's my TikTok handle. And I think that's also what I am on Twitch. I don't stream, but like I join streams, and I love to join streams
To watch.
to watch people play and react to my performances. It's a whole lot of fun. And I also do that because my business, my directing business, and my private coaching, and all of that is under the umbrella of my company, Adorably Fine. So
Nice.
and so yeah, that's where you can find me. And as far as projects or anything coming up, I'm really excited about a VR immersive film that I got to record in a very special circumstance. It's called Thank You for Sharing Your World. And of course, I play the mom, and I'm just called Mom, or just Mother, no name. And I play mom to a character named Takashi, who is played by Zach Aguilar. And that's also really special because he was a student in the past. And we actually got to, it's very, very special circumstance. And we were all online we were all tuning in online, and we did a group record to create it. It wasn't us just being individually recording it. So I got to interact with him. And the story is about Takashi, who became blind when he was 10 years old. And he befriends Shinji, who is on the autism spectrum. And you get to go on an adventure with them to see their life together. And because Takashi is blind, the experience, from what I understand, because I haven't seen it yet, is that it is a representative in drawings and of the imagination of Takashi. And so it's abstract and beautiful. And it is nominated for in the VR category at the Venice International Film Festival. And it is, and it's just extra special. I'm really excited about it. And if you're in Venice towards the end of August, it is you can experience the VR immersive experience there leading up to the festival. And so
nice.
So if you're in Italy, you should go see it.
There you go.
And definitely play I, the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative if you haven't yet.
There you go.
It's a fantastic sequel, and the adventures, the imagination and the wackiness that is Kotaro Uchikoshi is just fabulous and so much fun. And not just because I'm in it, the acting is superb. The voice acting is superb.
Nice.
And so I think it's just fantastic.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, and watch, and of course on Toonami, watch Lupin the Third Part 6 on Saturday nights.
There we go. Directorial debut for Miss Dorah
Yes,
Fine.
indeed. Right. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and the insight to the industry, and all the questions that you've answered, and where people can find, different tips and schools as well into voice acting. That's very important for a lot of people that want to get into this. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
I want to hang out with you guys.
There we go.